Hi, friends. This is Sanjay Parihar. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a technologist. And as we promised that we're going to talk to very notable faces from hospitality industry and we'll understand their perspective and the current and the future of the tourism as such. So here we are with Mr. Shiv Kumar Mehan, COO, Leisure Hotels. Welcome to our show, Mr. Shiv.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good to be on board.
Great. Thank you for joining. And thank you, Rohit, for being here.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thanks a lot. So, again, we all understand that there's a lot of moving parts as such, and there's a lot of new things which are changing and, I would say innovating in a way. Before we go there, let me ask this question. So Leisure Hotel is one of the very few visionary hotels who could visualize the future of Indian tourism back in 1989. It's been three decades journey so far, and it's not going to be very simple. Could you share some of the inspirational things for which came out of these 3 decades?
Yeah, well, Sanjay, good question you asked. It's been a journey for the family of promoters
Right.
for the leisure group. So, the two brothers, Mr. Mukund Prasad and Mr. Arvind Prasad, they're the founders of the company per se. They come from a family of sugar, so they have one of the largest sugar mills of India. But as young entrepreneurs, they wanted to do something beyond the family business. We started off with our first luxury property in Nainital, which used to be the erstwhile home of Rajaji National Park, where the family is descended from. So we set up the Naini Retreat way back in 1989, and I think it was more of a passion that actually drove them forward for hospitality. And it's been a very, very interesting journey. I mean, we are getting into 31 years now, come September, for the company.
Wow.
So, so Naini Retreat was the first hotel that was started across. That was way back in '89. Then, one moved on from Nainital and went into Corbett, which is basically the wildlife sanctuary, and then we set up the second one, which is the Corbett Haridwar, followed by the Riverview Retreat. So currently the company has about 3 hotels over there, including the Taj at Corbett and also the Club Mahindra at Corbett. So we have the largest retreat space across India. I think the company has expanded, adding units every 2 years or so. Post that period, so 1989 went on to 93 and then 99. And after that, it's been almost every year. We set up the Chardham camp somewhere closer to 2002, which was for the pilgrimage purpose, the Chardham for the Hindu pilgrimage. So we have camps at every base. And since the company was actually founded in Uttarakhand, which was at that time northern UP, one thing led to another, and areas in and around that space were actually developed, and that subsequently it made us the largest player in Uttarakhand in terms of chain. And we've expanded to Himachal, we've expanded to Goa. So largely in the leisure space. I think we'll probably discuss further when we go ahead, because it wasn't just a question of selling rooms. It was a question of creating holidays, creating experiences. That's what basically led the company forward. And now we've got about 5 odd verticals in the last 30 years. So we have resorts, we have boutique properties, we have camps, both in the spiritual as well as the wildlife space. We have business hotels, and we have a vertical for all the bungalows, which is actually the villa space. So those are basically the 5 verticals, and that's how it's gone forward. It's been a fantastic journey.
Wow.
For the promoters. It's been the family which we refer to as our team, which is the leisure family. So that's grown over the years. Today, in spite of COVID and everything happening, we have 1,000-man strong team, and we have about 1,000 odd rooms in the entire inventory, and it's been fantastic. So we're looking at future growth as well. Units to open up shortly. So
wow, that's great. I mean, thanks for sharing this insight. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of it's not just selling this stuff, but basically talking about the experiences and things around it, right? So as we move forward, CSR has been one of the top delivery of Leisure Hotel, whether to support the local family or wildlife or conserving the natural resources or promoting the environmental awareness program as such. Could you share some more company CSR as such?
So I think something that we refer to today as CSR, or when the concept of CSR has come in the last 15 odd years,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to hotel chains, I think certain aspects have come to us very naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Being a company which is basically grown from leisure destinations in the hills.
Mm-hmm.
So fundamentally, we've always had this thought that we want people from the hills because they
Mm-hmm.
can deliver the natural experience. They can deliver a feel of the destination,
Right.
of culture, of the flavor in the food.
Mm-hmm.
So be it the chefs, be it the people who are serving you,
Mm-hmm.
all our staff is from in and around the locales where we are located.
Mm-hmm.
So that's most important, and not just for the experience itself, but also because it's more sustainable that. So when we talk about sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
sustainability, people mistake it for financial viability. So
Mm-hmm.
that's only one aspect. But sustainability also means what you're doing in and around. So that is what allows the property, the experience, and everything to be sustainable. So getting people from the local resource markets, what you
Mm-hmm.
give back to the community. So
Mm-hmm.
we've given it back in terms of employment, and we've taken from it in terms of experiences that are imparted. Um, that's one larger aspect of it. So employment is a very big thing across over there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, getting involved with the community where our guests are concerned, we've sort of, let's take for example in some of the hills. So
Mm-hmm.
just to create experiences for the guests, we actually get them out to those local places. We give them that
Absolutely.
flavor, so you
Yeah.
can actually get across to a particular, let's say, Pahadi house, and you can actually experience the way they make tea. You can
Right.
actually have a meal with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it works for all of them, and people get to carry a piece of that back with them. Um,
The
you know,
experience and peace. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor,
The
everything
flavor.
is carried back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. We've expanded that over a period of time to inculcate, organically grown spices,
Mm-hmm.
which we're sourcing out from there and not sourcing it out from other branded sort of consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from grain, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's rice grain to wheat grain, whether it's poultry, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
game, whether it's other
Mm-hmm.
meat, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
vegetables, fresh fruits.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sort of picked up all the organic stuff and we've channelized it for our hotels. And at the same time, we've helped build vendors up to that level
Mm-hmm.
who are able to actually supply it in the fashion and the way we want. So controlling quality, assisting with employment, developing them further, developing their businesses further.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when it comes to the wildlife, of course, when it comes to the ecological aspect, I'd say, again, sustainability in terms
Mm-hmm.
of whether it's control on pollution, whether it's managing
Mm-hmm.
aspects of garbage, managing. So we use a lot of natural, locally available resources when it comes to building and construction. So we use a lot of rock from there, we use wood from there, we use all those aspects from there.
Right.
So all these things put together, it really comes across, and we have talk shows for the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Take for example, Corbett.
Mm-hmm.
Corbett National Park is a region. It's known for the tiger. Everybody has done a lot with the tiger, but the fact is they don't know that the elephant is a prominent aspect. Deer is a very prominent aspect.
Mm-hmm.
In certain areas, especially in Kumau, that region actually houses more than 40 species of owl.
Wow.
So, so
Mm-hmm.
people don't know about that. So in our properties, we have this evening talk show where we do a complete presentation on the heritage, the history of Corbett all the way from Sir
Mm-hmm.
Jim Corbett. And, sort of give them that. Children are there. So it's great education for people to actually come across and, sort of, and they take back more information with them. We make them ecologically aware. So we help them plant a tree in the property. So
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of connecting them back with nature. So these are all little bit of things that we actually keep on doing across the property. So I think
Wow.
that's all part of CSR, whichever way you look at it.
And that helps, like you said, the whole sustainable community as such. The community is growing, and it's great that you mentioned about that. It's not just about the financial viability; it's just the entire environmental and then community, and that is a great principle to follow upon and learn. Actually, yeah,
See, the principle of CSR is, businesses will earn, they will utilize, they'll
right,
grow. The question is, the whole principle of CSR is what you're giving back as a business,
right.
as a company. So what's your thought process on that? So it's important, I think you actually get as much as you give.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's very, very important. And if companies can do that, then it just goes its own way to sort of
Mm-hmm.
help
Mm-hmm.
local communities. We do it on a much smaller scale. Bigger companies, bigger chains,
All
they
right.
do it on a larger scale. So it just helps pick everybody up there. It's all
Right,
equal.
right, and community get greatly benefited by the entire effort. I mean,
Community
so
benefits, we benefit. It's vice versa.
it's exactly and that makes a lot of sense actually. And so here's I'm just curious. So now we are in the COVID-19, very weird space in a way. I mean, very strange space, I would say. And while COVID-19, we from United States to India, we are just seeing that there's a vaccination is coming. People are hopeful, but people start traveling a little bit. I mean, people start traveling. Sounds like how and I'm sure Leisure Hotels has a lot of plan or had implemented a lot of plans. Uh, could you shed some light on that? What are the things got changed because of COVID-19 there?
Um, you know, um, when COVID came in,
Mm,
it was all very new.
mm,
Um, everybody was second guessing what's going to happen, how it's
yeah,
going to happen.
yeah,
So
true.
everybody had their take on it.
Mhm,
Like I said, we are a very small company. We sort of we can execute and implement faster when it comes to sort of taking decision and putting them into play right down at the grassroots level.
mhm,
We actually spent the 10 days of lockdown in India. As you know, the lockdown started around the 22nd of March.
mhm,
So we had that particular period till the end of March. We had some insight on what's happening in different countries
mhm.
and how it's going to play out. Our anticipation was that it's going to be a complete deadlock sort of situation all the way through September, October of this year. Because if you see every country, there's been a cycle of at least 6 months,
Right,
whichever
at
way you
least
look at it.
true.
Um, Plus, the fact is, we connected with senior hoteliers in the country. We were on, webinars. We were taking in all the experience and sort of absorbing everything that's going on. What's everybody's take on it? So we took the month of all the way through April to understand exactly what the situation is, and then sort of put a certain, sort of put our gameplay into effect.
Mm,
So we started looking at precautionary measures. We started looking at control measures in terms of safety and hygiene, and we sort of started looking into it by mid-April after we understood the situation a little better.
mhm,
Come May, we had started training our teams because our properties were shut, but core teams were there at every single property through and through. So when your previous question, when it went back to sustainability, and we said we
mhm,
had a lot of local people,
mhm,
beauty about it was that we could actually retain those teams at the properties.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
they were like on self quarantine, and they
mhm,
were more than happy to do it.
mhm.
And that's the beauty. That's why we call it the family. It's called the leisure family. So
Right.
everybody takes that onus. Everybody takes that ownership. So they were there at the properties, and we kept implementing training processes, teaching our people what's right, what's wrong. As we came to know on the development, as different countries put out projections, we understood that, and we sort of imparted that knowledge. We were connected with our teams through and through, meetings,
Mhm,
etc. So through that period, what we did was that we set a lot of detailed procedures. We set in a lot of policies. We set in a lot of standard operating procedures and guidelines.
mhm,
Um, by the time we were ready to open our hotels in the beginning of June, so we had already got our equipment for sanitation, our supplies and everything, chemicals. etc. into play. We've stuck with what you call hygiene chemicals as well as disinfectants. They're basically biodegradable through and through. Um, so we actually put out almost I'd say something like a 460 odd point checklist
Mhm. Oh,
for
wow.
every single, yeah. So for
Uh-huh.
every single step, this is pre-arrival for a guest to our properties. It
Mhm.
starts from there. So it starts at the point of booking,
Mhm.
or the point of query, where we send out PDFs, we send out information, we send out visuals to our guests, from what to expect when you come to a property during COVID times. Yes, we have taken cognizance of the fact that yes, you cannot run buffets because you don't want people crowding around. You need to make.
Absolutely.
We don't call
Absolutely.
it social distancing. In
Mhm.
our company, we call it safe distancing. We don't
Mhm.
want to be socially distanced.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we call it safe distancing, and so from there on, we tell them that what services one will expect. We don't have too much of staff traveling into rooms while our guests are staying. So
Mhm.
lots of things that we used to do by default, for example, evening turn down service, etc. It's kept on request.
Mhm.
So it's at the
Mhm.
convenience of the guest. So whenever they want. Otherwise, if they're not comfortable, we are more than happy. We
Sure.
provide you whatever you want when you want.
Mhm.
So the guideline was put into play. We guide them on when they're traveling to our destinations. A lot of our destinations are actually driving destinations.
Mhm.
So maybe 4 hours, maximum 4.5 hours from the hubs of let's say Delhi. Delhi is one of the
Mhm.
feeder, or
Mhm.
Himachal is, etc. So they're all drivable distance. So what to do while you're driving, the safety precautions that you need to take. So something as small as while all of you are sitting in the car, make sure that if
Mhm.
your AC is on, then please make sure that the vents are open.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just to be on the safer side, please make sure
Uh-huh.
you carry your sanitizers. Try
Mhm.
not to stop try not to stop en route, but if you do, make sure
Yeah.
you got your sanitizers and your liquid soap, etc. So we've
Right.
given them that guideline. So it's more a question of guiding them also, because being professionals in the industry, we get to know more about it, but
Mhm.
it's better that the consumer is also educated at the same time.
Mhm.
So rather than having that fear, I think it's more a question of building confidence into
Correct.
people
Correct.
for them to actually travel and understand the situation better. So guidelines right from the point of travel to the point of arrival to the point of going into your room, what you get in your room, what you don't get in your room. So there's sanitizers in the room, there do-it-yourself kits,
Mhm.
all that stuff is there. How you're going to dine, safe distance dining. You can order your food being provided, promoting
Mhm.
in-room dining. So
Mhm.
all the other stuff which is random, but yeah, we've been very, very specific.
Mhm.
And thankfully, since the time that we've opened, I think almost every single guest who's come to
Mhm.
all the various properties, I think our online reviews were absolutely great. People were very happy with the sort of standards that have been put into place for maintaining their sanitation, etc. So,
Sanitation.
like I said, those guidelines and those SOPs go a very long way. The
Mhm.
team is completely trained start to finish, and it's more of a constant process.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned that there's a constant process. It's ongoing, evolving, and constant process. But it's a great effort. I mean, there's 400 plus pointers, and then it's and a lot of training involved. So definitely, hotel. I mean, it is totally equipped for the next step after COVID-19. Rohit,
So
it's yeah,
the
let's go.
SOP is it's for the guest. It's
Yeah,
also for the staff. You
yeah,
see, because the safety of the guest is paramount, but that can only happen if the staff is safe,
right, right,
because the
right.
guest is
True,
doing their
true.
behavior.
Mm.
So that is the first step to be able to deliver.
To deliver, right. Rohit, it's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. In fact, like I was just hearing to Mr. Shiv,
Mm.
and it was really interesting to understand the safe distance, because we have been talking about the social distance, and maybe some point of time even we talked about the physical distance. But the best terminology comes as a safe distance, which is most appropriate at this moment. And in fact, like when I was hearing to him, and notice that everything is within the process. It has been evolved. How the best the hotel can ensure the hygiene in the hotel. I'm just sure, like you have around 25 hotels under the leisure group of hotels, and definitely the client, the guest would be interested because they are visiting to different hotels. So this SOP are the same for all the hotels, or you have been defined like the different SOP for different hotels?
Well, Rohit, like I mentioned earlier, you see, we have multiple verticals. Right? So when you're talking about larger business hotels, you're talking about larger resorts. Then, of course, the SOPs and the guidelines that come into play are far more detailed because you're looking at a larger expanse in terms of geographical area, more guests falling through on a regular basis. So the operations are I'd say dissimilar to smaller operations, which are in terms of boutique properties or the villa space in terms of the vertical, or for the camps. So so we've got I'd say detailed SOPs for the larger ones.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a little more comfortable SOPs for the smaller, let's say the camps and the villa verticals. Resorts, the SOPs will vary slightly because of the geographical layout and the aspect. So the specifications will also change step to step. For business hotels, since they're more compact, then of course, there the guidelines, I'd say, as compared to resorts, are somewhat simpler, or the processes which we have put into place, the areas that we cover are somewhat shorter. Because when you're at a resort, so for example, you've got everything from the main gate, then there's distance to the front porch, and then there's distance to the lobby, and then there is distance. So how is that distance supposed to be handled? How is that distance supposed to be managed? What happens when a guest is moving from one place to the next? Where all should you have your sanitizing stations? Where all should you have your option in terms of laying out your meals for the guests? How can they be safely distanced at specific locations, and how can they not be at specific locations, and how do you handle that? So in a business hotel, like I said, it's more of a compact structure, so you handle it a little differently. Certain areas are far more specific for a business hotel because, like I said, it's more compact, and in resorts those aspects become a little comfortable. So we've defined it for different verticals, uh, so to speak. So when why we say safe distancing is, see, at the end of the day, we are still a people industry,
Right.
Right.
and that can't change. Otherwise you're changing the nature of hospitality completely. That
Right.
can't change. So, and we are hoping that all this, sort of goes away, but we still have a steward to go and address a guest. Uh, I can understand that you're giving him a soft menu on his phone, but yet when it comes to explaining the dish or to giving the guidance, that's why don't you have this, or what can I get you for your child? You have that level of interaction. It's not going to change. But yeah, you can maintain that safe distancing. You can manage it a little in a slightly different fashion, but you can't change it entirely. And we don't want to change it entirely because it just kills the entire experience.
That's true.
Right.
We are the hospitality industry somehow. Looks like the treatment goes like the hospital. So of course, we don't want to do that.
No, so that's something we were very specific. You said we can distance our tables and chairs. We said we don't want to change everything. We don't want our resorts and our hotels looking like hospitals. So we said, all right, your four cover tables, let's make them two. Your 8 cover tables, let's make them 4.
Right.
But what's going to happen is going to happen.
That's true.
So
Yeah. So in fact, like the other thing, like when I say it's the 25 hotels, and most of the hotels are not open. In fact, like the hotels are open in phases. So what are the hotels are yet to open? As a most of the hotels of leisure is open, but what are the hotels which is not open, and when you are expecting to open them?
So I think the only vertical which we have not opened as yet is the spiritual camps, which is basically the Chardham, because the government only recently gave the go-ahead for the yatra, but it is only restricted within the state of Uttarakhand, whereas Hindu pilgrims come from outside. A lot of them come from UP and other states. So, and since it was a little late during the course of the year, because the main yatra takes place during peak summer, which is basically starts April and goes on till June. It gets a little sluggish during the monsoon, and then we have this shorter window towards September, October. So that is the only vertical we've kept closed. And yes, our nature camps, of course, are closed because of monsoon inaccessibility, because the rivers sort of get flooded. And that's part of the experience because you get right into the heart of the jungle to actually experience them. So they only come on post-September. So those are closed right now. Otherwise, all the business hotels, the villas, the resorts, they're all open.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's nice. Like Sanjay, you see, like it's a very positive when most of the hotels of leisure group is open now.
Right.
Chardham camps we hope to open next year for the season now.
Sure.
Let's see how it
That
turns out.
definitely it should be going good. Now on that line, I have one question. So leisure hotel, how it is different from the other hotels from in the same destination? What are this leisure hotel is doing very differently from other hotels?
So I'll sum it up for you. If you see our company logo,
Mm-hmm.
it's called Leisure Hotels,
Mm-hmm.
and at the bottom there's a little caption that says "Experience More."
Mm-hmm.
So that is a part of our logo. That's a part of our brand. So I think for us it's always been, and now even more so. A lot of hotels in the last, I'd say, around 2 years or maybe 3 years, everybody has started talking experiential stays, and they've started talking space. So we've had that as a core fundamental anyways. So what makes us different is we don't sell hotel rooms, we don't sell F&B. We sell an experience. So let me create that as a little example for you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you book one of our resorts. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how your day will start, you're going to get up in the morning. Um, you can actually step outside your room. Of course, you've got room service. But the fact is that most of our properties
Mm-hmm.
will always have this typical traditional tea cart setup somewhere in the lawns or somewhere in the verandas
Mm-hmm.
where you can actually go, because we want you to step out of your room
Right.
and come and experience the destination, see it for what it is, experience the weather, experience the morning, the nature, listen to the bird calls. Your what we call order your chai.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what you want. I mean, that's what every Indian, especially every North Indian, wants it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Order your chai. You want a masala tea. He's going to make it right for you,
Mm-hmm.
right there in front of you, piping hot. You want it with elaichi. You want it with whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
he'll have that traditional hawker setup
Mm-hmm.
wherein you actually enjoy
Oh
your
wow.
typical homemade
Uh,
biscuit with it.
mm,
You want your little homemade pastry along with your biscuit,
mm,
your puff pastry. So stuff like that. So that's just your morning tea. You'll be greeted with the sound of a flute
mm-hmm. Mm,
in that area, or the sound of a sitar, or the sound of a sarod,
mm-hmm.
depending on what it actually is.
Mm,
Um, After that, your breakfast, again, we try and make that experiential for you. You don't necessarily need to sit in a restaurant
mm,
where most of our properties have open spaces. We want you to dine out. So a larger part of our experience, like I said, is we want you to come out of your room and enjoy the destination.
mm-hmm.
So what does the destination offer? It offers nature, offers greenery, it offers beauty, and that's what you're connecting with when you get out of the city. So we want you to enjoy as much of it as possible. Um, Food is a very, very important part of the entire experience. So local cuisines, local flavors, besides the international flavors. Um, as a basic ethos, all of us, including our directors, what we always feel is, listen, we'll talk about food cost later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about guest satisfaction and wow first.
Right.
Food costs can go up by 2 or 3%. It doesn't make us a difference. But the fact is that everybody needs to enjoy their food, because when you're actually paying for your stay,
Mm-hmm.
you're paying for the room, you're paying for the food, right? So it is an absolute integral part of your entire stay. So we try to create those experiences, lots of live counters, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of interaction in terms of your food with the chefs, etc. Um, you will have activities in the resort, complimentary. There are chargeable activities, of course, but complimentary. Kids can play games. We have a
Mm-hmm.
complete activity team at a lot of our resorts,
Mm-hmm.
even some of our business hotels, where they'll make things happen for you when you want to go outside. Corporates are free in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. how can we give you some entertainment? So whether it's talk shows, whether it's presentations, um, local skits, we have a team that performs plays for you. Music, which is from the local region, that performance will be there by default. We have a high tea session in the evening, which is complimentary as a part of your package. So, so whatever refreshments, whatever local flavors, traditional Indian food, could be anything from chai pakora to anything from corn on the cob, which is roasted live in front of you. There'll be a counter making tikki for you.
Right.
So you sort of connect to the basics.
Right.
And then of course, followed by dinner, what you want to do out of the resort. So activities, mountain drives, this, that. So it's a complete holiday. That's what we try to create. So that's the experience that I'm actually talking about. The complete flavor of your stay is created like that. So I think that is something that sets us apart. And that's something that we are actually, that's what we pride ourselves in. And sort
Right.
of make that memorable for you. And we want you to come back every single time to experience something new. So I think experience is what sets us apart completely.
Absolutely. And, I'm totally connecting with it right now, hearing everything, and it certainly is a certainly great experience as such, per se. One another question, and thanks for sharing all the, experiences in detail. Another interesting aspect, I know the hotel group is increasing. Recently, it's been opened in the Noida. Could you tell our audience more about that hotel?
So this winter gone by, I think in January and February both, we've opened two properties back to back. One is the Hideaway at Greater Noida. So this is basically a boutique business hotel. It's 70 plus keys. We like to call it a boutique hotel because it's nice, it's bright, it's very refreshing in terms of the interiors, the colors, and everything that we use. Plus, it comes with a set of very, very boutique sort of services. We launched our Leisure Vantage program for the corporates for that. Just looking, I think it's more, I'd say, insight into a guest stay. So a corporate who's traveling, who's there for a night, he's come there for work, he's come there for a meeting. So something as small as, he can probably give you, he can give his shirt in the morning, and it's a complimentary ironing service for him to get his shirt done so that he can dress smartly go for his meeting. Coffee mornings at the cafe. So if he wants to do a coffee meeting with somebody, so he's not going to be charged for getting that. He's got his breakfast, so a complimentary breakfast for him. What do you call, high level of discount for his guest who he's having a morning breakfast meeting with. Coffee evenings if he wants to get across. Major discounts in terms of services when it comes to travel, etc. Packed breakfast if he's leaving early. Again, compliments of the management. So we've introduced these sort of small add-ons, high-speed Wi-Fi, which is a basic given, but then we make sure that it's really high speed. So that sort of goes and adds on to the entire experience. You can order your typical breakfast if you want. Order your meal the way you want it. Okay. So somebody says, look, I've got the buffet, I know, but I'd like to have this particular dish this way. I don't do onion, garlic, I don't do chili, etc. So the chef will prepare your dish the way you want. So
Right.
these small sort of touches we like to actually put across into the room. So plus it has conferencing. So we have an all-day cafe with a patisserie and a delicatessen. We've got a coffee shop 24 hours. We have a conference facility. We have a very, very large banqueting setup, which allows open air banqueting for up to over 750 people. And of course, the all-day diner, which offers an international menu, live kitchen, a la carte selections. So that's basically, the hotel is very, very centrally located at Greater Noida, connected to the close by corporate hub, and so that's basically where it's at. I'd say we positioned it in a very value for money sort of concept, and because we like more guests and more happy guests.
More happy guest, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that, that's most important. So that's one of the properties. The second one that we actually started was of our second property in Rishikesh,
Mm-hmm.
which is the yoga capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So we set up what we like to call a hybrid model. So it's we have rooms over there, and we also have very high-end dormitory setups, centrally air-conditioned dorms. The whole hog in terms of feather-down duvets and spring mattresses and the works. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, so a high-end dormitory experience. So you want a room, you've got a room. You want a dormitory, you want a dormitory. You've got very interesting lounges where people can just chill, do their Wi-Fi, play games, watch television, do whatever
Mm-hmm.
they want. So I'd say it's we started the concept of, we conceptualized it like a high-end hostel, but
Mm-hmm.
then we landed up eventually creating a little bit of a high-end hostel and a little bit of a smart hotel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's what we refer to as a hybrid smart hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
got a bit of everything. So we've got terrace dining. We've got you've got a beautiful view of Rishikesh. You've got a view of the Ganges. It's a favorite haunt with the locals. We've got outdoor spaces where people can just lounge around, and in a very affordable segment,
Mm-hmm.
but fresh, crisp. We have a separate all-day diner. So it's for your international traveler. It's for your domestic traveler. It's for the backpacker. It's for a couple. So
Mm-hmm.
it's actually meant universally for anybody per se. But it's nice. It's a very light concept. It's not a heavy concept,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there on our website. I can't probably show you the
Amazing.
photographs right now, but it's nice, bright, refreshing, and light. That's the way we
Great.
sort of
Great.
sum it up.
Great to hear. And another thing is when it comes to India, of course, the wedding is the part and parcel of everything, right? Indian
Sorry?
wedding is the
Oh,
one of the
yes.
most important thing.
The
And
great wedding.
yeah, wedding, big big weddings, and so yeah. So tell us the wedding accommodation and activities, how it can be done in your hotel around those lines.
So, the wedding segment, interesting enough for Indian hospitality, it forms a very, I'd say, it's a key part
Mm-hmm.
of the entire economics of most larger hotels, and in most destinations. Say, um, of course, all our business hotels, each and every one of them, be it Kashipur, be it Bareilly, be it Greater Noida, we're developing one in Dehradun right now. So all of them are actually planned for that, complete with banquet lawns, and we are able to take on anything from, let's say, 250 people and upwards. Most of our resorts have the space and have the allocation both in terms of inventory as well as again open spaces and closed venues, and they've been planned in that fashion. Uh, Destination weddings is something which is picked up over the last couple of years, and I think in terms of our leisure destinations, we are in a very good spot to actually cater to destination weddings. As I mentioned earlier, we are easily accessible
Uh-huh.
by road. We have the spaces, and because within these resorts also having multiple spaces, it means you can do different celebrations at different venues.
Yeah.
It sort of keeps changing the experience for you. So you want to have typical for an Indian wedding is you want to have the mehndi, you have the mehndi over here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have your engagement, you have it across over here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have the main wedding gala, you have it across over here. So uh, we are pretty geared up for that.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we facilitate everything for you in spite of the fact that you're out of your city. So everything from your decoration to your music to your entertainment to your setup to your food, the entire food experience, getting regional cuisine, getting specialty cuisine. So we create that entire thing across for to make it way more memorable. We have been promoting something called green weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So for the nature conscious, for the ecologically conscious. In the traditional big fat Indian wedding, you
Yeah.
land up with a lot of
Yeah.
stuff which is honestly it's not that eco-friendly. So what we try and do with our green weddings is we said don't focus so much on decor, especially when you're doing it outside. Let the entire greenery become a part of your prop. And we have so much of it, and we have so much of landscaping in all these places that and we like to use all natural decor items. So you'll be using everything from clay pots to earthenware to bamboo. We'll be using a lot of traditional flowers like marigold or rose or your that chameli. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we use
Yeah.
a lot of that, and we try and sort of bring the entire surroundings into that. So less artificial, more natural. Soft lighting. Some of our destinations we really don't do loud DJs because again, be it the jungle areas, be it any of the areas. So we try and inculcate that value for the natural environment along with it. So we started doing something called the silent DJ. So where the DJ can actually you can put on your headphones.
Okay.
Right? And you can listen to whichever music you want and dance to it. So and the fact is, it's not disturbing the entire environment around it. People love it. So it's
that's a good concept.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it comes across together very, very well. So like I said, the cuisine, the experience, the decor, the table setups, everything. So it's all done together, and that's what we work on. So if we are at destinations like Rishikesh or we are at destinations like Haridwar, so we have pure vegetarian properties across because you're on the banks of the Ganges. So there, the food experience is enhanced. Just because you're not eating meat doesn't mean that you can't have a great meat experience. We do some phenomenal food across these places. So we have menus which are basically taken from the entire Gangetic plain, from the source. So you'd have Himalayan cuisine running through and through. You'd have a touch of Uttarakhand. You'd have a touch of UP. You'd have a touch all the way down going to the Bay of Bengal. So because the Ganges runs all through and through.
Right.
So we try and inculcate that. So it's a different experience.
Amazing. And we talked about wedding. How can we miss cuisine? So cuisine is another interesting aspect, right? So tell us more about the cuisine part.
So our units, like I said, most of them are located within Uttarakhand, UP, Himachal, Goa. We have bungalows. So when I talk about hotels and resorts, so when they're in UP, we always have a certain element of cuisine coming out of UP. So UP is very famous for some of its kebabs, which is inspired from regions like Lucknow, Rampur, etc. So we have a lot of those on offer. Uttarakhand is divided. It's you've got Garhwal and you've got Kumaon. So Uttarakhand, people like to look at it as a single state, but the regions of Garhwal and Kumaon have their own unique flavors.
Right.
So when you're talking about Nainital and Corbett and Almora and all these other places, so that's Kumaon. When you're talking about Haridwar, Rishikesh, that's all Garhwal. All right. So we have Garhwali cuisine, we have Kumaoni cuisine, and like I said, we've developed something called the Himalayan cuisine. Okay, which one part is what we've taken along the Ganges. So different locations along the Ganges. So you'll have everything from chaat coming from UP to stuff coming out of the mountains. So it could be everything from a bhutta to a mashir fish. And then you've got the Himalayan cuisine, which is on offer. So Himalayan cuisine takes a bit of Kashmir, it takes a bit of Tibet, it takes a bit of Sikkim, it takes a bit of Manipur, it takes a bit of Himachal, and it takes a bit of Uttarakhand. So we go all the way from east to west.
Wow.
Along the mountains, and we've taken excerpts. So you'll have everything from a thupa coming out of Tibet,
Wow.
and you'll have something coming out of Kashmir. So that's the Himalayan cuisine, and we are developing. In fact, we developed it. So we've already started putting that across to all our properties. Like I said, the meal experience is very important for a stay. It's an essential part of the stay.
Right.
And I think probably during the course of the stay, minus the time that you're sleeping in your room, when you're waking up in your room, you spend a lot of time out of your room, and you're spending a lot of time dining because you've got 3 meals in a room anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it's a business hotel, your morning breakfast and your evening dinner is still. So you start your dining experience from your morning cup of tea,
Mm-hmm.
and you end it with your evening dinner, or maybe your post-dinner cup of tea or a coffee or a nightcap or whatever you want. So your meal experience is running through the day. So
Right.
it's most important. So like I said, your morning tea to your lunches to your high tea to your dinner. So all that is basically an integral part we try to build in the cuisine. Flavor is most important. Presentation is even more important.
Mm-hmm.
So we have consulting chefs besides our own chefs, which are introduced into the system. We like to change our menus every year. We like to refresh our buffets seasonally. Um, Dishes of the day change as per the season. The beverages in your welcome drinks at the property, they change as per the season, because
Mm-hmm.
we've got locations which are warm, and then we've got extreme weathers, right? So summers will see you welcomed with a different sort of lemonade,
Mm-hmm.
and we even do drinks with the local flour. Your monsoons will probably you'll be welcomed with a nice cup of masala tea.
Yeah.
Your winters, you may be welcomed with a nice cup of tomato dhania shorba or even a rasam.
Mm-hmm.
So so you're welcomed with a chilled glass in winter, and you're probably welcomed with a warm cooler in the winter.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the small touches that go through your in-room guest amenities, which we provide, your in-room refreshments that we provide, they will change as per the season. So we'll bring in some gourd, and we'll bring in some namak paras and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Traditionally typical to the region.
Mm-hmm.
That and then during summertime you'll have anything from a beaten chana
Mm-hmm.
to something lighter, because gourd is actually very warm or jaggery. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's good for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And in summers, you'll have anything from puffed rice being prepared in
Mm-hmm.
that local traditional manner, which our grandmother used to give us once upon a time. So those are the small touches that we actually keep bringing through. So the meal experience is very, very important.
Absolutely, absolutely, and connecting to the roots, it's kind of, and then you start getting those things. It makes your experience is even much better.
People get nostalgic with it here.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
know,
I am
say
right
we,
now.
yeah, so,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
had this so long back, and something
yeah,
as simple as a little,
yeah.
a good dumpling or a jaggery
Mm-hmm.
dumpling is, it's amazing. It just brings back childhood here.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's great in that particular locale. You got the river flowing by, or you got a nice little mountain breeze.
Absolutely,
It just sort
absolutely.
of brings it back. I mean, in India, it's typical na barish hogi, so you want chai and pakoda.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So it's so
We,
typical.
we we do that. We try to do that here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are our roots here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it sort
Exactly.
of connects you back. So we try and do it more, more, I'd say, go back to basics.
Go back to basics, like you
People
said.
just love it.
Right. Oh, one another question on that line. So Chardham tours is one of the USP of the hotel, right? Could you share some more insight about that USP?
So for the people who don't know, so the Chardham is the main Hindu pilgrimage. So
Yeah.
it comprises of 4 destinations, which is Badrinath, Kedarnath,
Um,
Gangotri, and Yamunotri. So this pilgrimage generally takes a person in up to about, I'd say about 10 days. Because it takes some getting, you need to get across over there, and then they're spread far apart. So what we did to make this comfortable, and when we conceptualized it, so we set up camp resorts for each and every one of these dhams. So a person could get across over there,
mhm,
and once you reach there, because it takes a bit of getting to,
mhm, mhm,
and then one can relax that particular day. Rest
mhm,
is where he
mhm,
goes. We take care of them, and we set up Swiss tents across over there.
mhm,
So that's where they stay. So all I'd say it's not opulent luxury. because the locations, etc., and the infrastructure and the logistics don't allow for that. But to make sure that people are getting a very comfortable setup, anything from electric blankets to heating because destinations are cold, to you're running hot water, to all the basic hotel amenities that one would expect in a good 4-star hotel are provided by us in the tents. Very, very traditional Indian vegetarian food, which is provided across them. Assistance with their transport, assistance with people who want to take helicopter rides across to the dham. And so each and every one of these camps is within drivable distance. Very comfortable, take maybe an hour and a half away from the main dham, which the person can go to the next day. The yatra basically starts from either Haridwar or Rishikesh. So that's where it basically begins. So and it's mapped out for them. So we do the entire itinerary for the guests. So that you do this one first, from there you get across here, from there you get across there. From guided tours, we have guides who will assist you getting across to the temples, because that period for the Chardham is extremely busy. So there are long queues to get into the main temples and the main atriums to actually visit and darshan for the darshan itself. So we provide the guides who are able to help the people in that. Sometimes you have a lot of people, elderly people getting across over there. So making sure that they are taken care of, they're comfortably, they've had a good yatra. So small things regarding that. So be it the meal, be it the stay. So that's what the Chardham is all about. I think it's a spiritual connect.
Right.
That a person gets across. So everything from a Bhagavad Gita, to the kirtan or the bhajan that is happening, for the music. So once you enter the camps, the entire atmosphere is going to change for you. So your food being cooked with desi ghee, doing stuff like that. So all the small things, and and like I said, traditional Indian food. So everything from potato preparations to kheer to semai to all that stuff. So, and so that's how we actually build the entire thing. And like I said, it starts in April, a period, and runs through October, after which the dhams are closed.
Right.
They're shut from November all the way to beginning April. So that's the entire period of the yatra, and that's what we try and keep.
Wow. Thanks for sharing the detail there. And while we are about to wrap up our conversation here, one last question is, what is your plans for the future expansion as such?
Well, I think we've got a couple of projects already lined up, which we are currently working on. So we have a major expansion of our resort in Nakucheta, which is about 26 odd kilometers from Nainital. We're looking to do almost about 100 rooms. The Nakucheta lake happens to be larger than the Naini lake. So see, after Nainital, that's the next larger group. And we already have bungalows over there. So we're looking to do a resort over there. So that work has begun, and I think we should be up and about closer towards the end of 22. The second property which we've got going on, which is at Haridwar, we already have 2 properties at Haridwar in the boutique Haveli space, but we are looking to do a very high-end luxury Haveli with a typical heritage setup. That is going to be with our partners with the Taj. We already have them as partners at other properties, so we are developing this one under the Taj Selections brand for them. So this is again a 35 room, but a very high-end sort of. The entire Haveli is being restored back to its original design and architecture. So that, and then coupled with a very, very high-end experience for the guest to actually come across over there. So not to say that Rajasthan hasn't already done it, but yes, we'd like you to live like a Maharaja. Across over there.
Sure.
Then we have another development which is happening at Dharamsala. We already have a Dharamsala in Himachal. This is another one which is a little away. We're looking to develop 100+ keys over there. that is again in the resort space. And so these are, like I said, so two are resorts, and one is this one. We're looking to do another business hotel across at Allahabad shortly.
Mm.
It may take at least about a year or so. The Haridwar property that should be operational by coming January.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little bit of setback with COVID of about 2 or 3 months, but it's well underway. And even Dharamshala, that should be ready by the first quarter of next year. So that's
Great.
basically where we are at. We're taking it a little easy right now. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. The demand of the time, right?
no, I think it's actually a good time. You know,
It's a good time, yeah.
Yeah. So even our one of our properties at Corbett, which is the largest one across over there, so we're developing a completely new setup in terms of food and beverage over there.
Mm.
So we've got new live kitchens in development. We've got a new outlet, which is a deck by the river,
Mm.
a deck overlooking the river, and introducing new experiences, everything from traditional Indian to a pizzeria to
Mm.
Oriental fusion cuisine. So there's a new courtyard coming up across over there. So just again, something to enhance the experience. This is a good time to actually do the development
Right.
because it's relatively free, and we'd like all these things to be done before our guests actually start coming back in full flow. So we give them something fresh to actually look at once they're back.
Absolutely. And like your branding says, experience is the key. Experience is the key. Great. So it's great conversation with you, Mr. Shiv. Thank you for joining the show. We are ending our interview right now. Please stay on. We have some follow-up questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you, Mr. Shiv. Thank you, Rohit.